It's red sauce on everything, unless it's a breakfast, it's brown. If you got chips on your breakfast, that's brown. If you got chips with your pie and chips, that's red.
Because you're not really London boys. I'm a Camden boy. And you know the saying, there's no brown in town. It goes for your shoes and your socks. Politics is like your penis. It's yours. It's your opinion. Don't push it on other people that don't want to do it. You know?
Nobody in the last 10 years of construction mental health has been held accountable for the fact that suicide's gone up and up and up.
26% of construction professionals have considered suicide.
We don't take mental health that seriously by the sound of within the industry.
Passion for sport is already here. Sport has the answers to mental health.
Everyone thinks I'm against McDonald's. I'm not. McDonald's was number 36. Yeah. Well, they never have a shake. That's the problem. What it is. The shake machine never worked.
The opinions expressed within this podcast are solely the individuals and do not reflect the opinions and beliefs of the sponsors or its affiliates.
What's doing your heading then?
Do you want me to? You know what's doing my heading? Do you want to know what's doing my heading? You two guys don't know this, right? I'll just really quickly tell a story, but I've got to give you the full works so you get the empathetic feel, right? So in January, I booked holiday, right, for me and the missus, right? And in April, May this year, I got like an email saying, "Oh, your flights aren't from Gatwick anymore; they're now Heathrow," so I'm like, "Oh God!" But you know, I'm thinking it's a week away with the missus or whatever, blah blah blah. So then the other Friday night, I'm about to go, by the way, right? The other Friday night, I get an email, not a call or no shit like that. I get an email: your flight, just one, plural, your flight's been cancelled. So I'm thinking, I look at the email. It says, "Log on." This is BA, by the way, right? Log on to see your why and what you can do about it. So I log on and it says your flight's been cancelled, the return flight. So I'm all right out there, I'm AWOL now. How do I get back? So I go on and option 1 refund. I thought they'd give that up a bit quick, something's not right here, is it, right? Option 2, choose another flight. So I'm thinking, oh right, so the time that it was going to leave's probably changed, right? So I look on the 11th of November, which is when I was coming home, nothing. I thought, oh, 12th, nothing. 13th, nothing. I thought, okay, I'm taking the piss now. 10th, nothing. 9th, nothing. I thought, what's going on here?
There's a war.
I ring him up and the guy offers me, he says, I can get you, he says, what it is, we've got a bit of an issue with Rolls Royce. Basically, no one else has got this issue, by the way, so he obviously hadn't paid the bill, had they, right? So he says, I can get you back, and he gives me a date, about 5 days. So I'm going to be on holiday for 2 days, right? Because I'm going to go for a week, right? He gives me a date and goes, what it is, yeah, it's in economy and you're not sitting together either. So I got a night flight next to... I said, oh, just give me a refund, mate. That really pissed me off. Honestly, I can't say. All year.
Where was you going? Middle East or something?
No, I was. I'm not now, obviously.
That's what I mean.
Was it, like, I was going
Steve
to
just said, was it a war zone or something?
No, it was Barbados. Oh. But you'd think there's a war zone there,
That's because they're laid back over there, mate.
Right, and I've got to tell you this, right? I'm obviously not meant to go to Barbados.
That's what he was saying. It don't matter. So you've heard the pilot coming in. You know, we'll be landing like maybe today, maybe tomorrow. You know what I mean? So they're laid back over there. They won't mind.
For some reason, I'm not meant to go to Barbados, right? Whether it's the Bermuda Triangle or something else. Because do you know what, right? When we booked one before COVID hit, Barbados again. I'm trying to go to Barbados, so I can't get there, right?
They don't want you.
And do you know what happened? They turned an ex prison into like some weird COVID camp, and what they were doing was they were if you fail a PCR test, you have to go in COVID camp, and I had at the time.
It was a prison.
It was a converted prison. There was all like things on there was all like YouTube videos of people posting like polystyrene boxes with a bit of chips and bacon in it through the door for a little letterbox, and that was your lunch based on holiday, right? So I was supposed to go, but I had COVID. Then I got over COVID. But you still, am I right in saying you still show positive on a PCR test for up to 90 days?
Do you? Yeah.
So I was due in 60 days. So I rang up and I said, look, I have had COVID, I'm over COVID, but I'm going to show up positive for a PCR test. They went, yeah, you're going you'd have to go in the camp. I went, I don't want to go to the camp. I said, where's the missus go? Where's the missus go? Oh, she'd be in the hotel. Oh, right. So I'm in the prison. She's in the hotel, right? And do you know what that was, right? Talk about bad luck, right? I said, oh, can we cancel that? Yeah, because you're cancelling, you'd lose 75% of your money. I said, no, but I can't go on holiday. I can't sit on the beach. I've got to go in the camp. And he goes, but you can still go to Barbados.
Oh, wow.
So
she went in, no.
So we had to abort that one. He did tell me a bit of a grey loop. He said, look, there is a way you can get most of your money back. And I went, how's that? He said, log on, edit the holiday and say you're going next year, right? Then log on again and cancel it. And because you're now outside of, because you've got a year, you get like 95% of your money back. So I did that. So twice I've tried. Anyway, cut them
So tips by Mark.
What?
Tips
Yeah.
on trips.
Tips on trips.
And if you read the small print, 'cause I did, if you read the small print, did you know that airlines, well, BA anyway, can cancel your holiday penalty free up to 21 days before you fly?
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah.
There's been a few people jumping on the back of BA, actually. It's been a bit of a nightmare, hasn't it, with British Airways for some reason. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. I ain't got a clue. They said it was spares coming from Rolls-Royce, but everyone else uses the Rolls-Royce engines, and no one else is. So it sounds like they're on stop.
Probably, yeah.
It does worry you a bit when your plane needs spare parts and stuff. It's a bit like, oh, what's going on there then?
Mate,
I've seen
like airline insurance, and you're saying that it
Really?
goes back to, I think every claim that they do goes back to the part itself.
Does it?
So the airline BA will go back to Rolls-Royce, and then Rolls-Royce will look at where the nut fell off a certain item, and they'll find out the factory that nut come from, and then, it goes all the way back.
I saw a video the other day, and the engine had like tape over it, and they were in the air flying. I was like, what's going on there?
That's got to be fake, isn't it?
I don't know.
Tape, yeah.
Well, apparently, I looked at the comments, and they were saying like, oh, it's completely normal that's happening.
I've been on a plane, like coming back from America once, and they had to announced that they'd fixed the part on the engine, and they could see that they fixed the part on the plane. And because they mentioned that word engine, and then when you kick the plane up, the fuel comes in a little bit. You can smell fuel. Because about 15 people got off that flight. And
What, because they can smell fuel?
Oh, there's something wrong with the engine. They've had to fix the engine. I'm thinking, I'm probably the safest I was. I'm probably safer now, aren't I? Because they fixed the bloody thing than I would if it were taken off.
Yes, the flight
If they
arrived.
fixed
Jumping
it,
off the plane.
Yeah.
Honestly, crazy. But you know what's done my nutting this week? I don't know if you've noticed it, right? We're all into Amazon, aren't we? Parcel delivery.
Yeah.
Parcel delivery. But have you noticed the change, maybe there's a change in attitude or whatever with the drivers, the delivery drivers?
You don't even see them now, do they? Throw out the doorstep, gone. Yeah.
But when you're trying to get down the road,
Yeah.
now, it used to be they used to try and double park, or they'd park ridiculously down the road, wouldn't
Yeah.
they? But now they just stop the van in the middle of the bloody road with the hazards on. Yeah. Coming round the bend the other day, I'm coming round the bend and there he is, hazards on, can't get through. Loads of people, they can't all see round there, they're bibbing and bibbing. And it's like, he's come out and he's gone, oh, I'm delivering a parcel. Like, as if... But that's all you're doing, mate. You're delivering a parcel, and it's like as if he was an emergency service. I think that the next thing is they're going to have the blue lights on and all that, and cracking through the traffic, And the hazard. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought hazard lights were for if you had broken down, not because you're delivering a parcel.
Yeah.
Have you not noticed how crazy
My
it is? My
sister was in the van with us last week. We're going to an event, and a doorbell went on her phone. She answered it a little bit late, and as she's answered, the guy's walking off, and she said, "Excuse me, got a parcel for us?" Yeah, no worries. He's come back to the door and said, "Sorry, I can't do it now. I've just put on here that you're not in on the system." And she was like, "Yeah, but I'm answering here. I'm saying you can put it in a certain space." And he said, "Oh, sorry, I still can't because I've marked it as you're not in." And she went, "Well, what if I was in and I just answered the door late? Would you still walk off?" And surely there's a backup thing you can do and say,
Absolutely.
no, there's not. There's the only driver. No, there was another driver in the van with him. It was obviously senior, maybe he's a starter. He then got out. This is a situation. He said, "Yeah, just pretend that I'm in and open the door late. Can you just put it over the back gate?" And it was about a 5-minute conversation going between them. Just be like,
Crazy.
just stick it over the gate.
Computer says no,
Because
innit?
she was like, "I need that parcel today. My husband's not in and I'm out, but we need it." Yeah, and it was just like common sense is failing.
Yeah,
But
barely.
at least they turn up. Last time I had a parcel delivered, I delivered it specifically on Saturday because I knew I would be in. And then I get a message from them saying, I'm sitting there waiting for the parcel to be delivered. I really needed it on Saturday, right? And I get a message saying, "Sorry, you weren't in." Well, there was no knock at the door.
Oh, they do
no
it
one,
all the time.
no one turned
Yeah,
up.
that means they wanted to go home early or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, they just cancelled the last 10, didn't they?
What happened?
Well, they drop it, don't they? Drop it, and then they're back in the van by the time you ever answer the door, don't they? A lot of time now as well. Just they've got so many. There's a video on YouTube. A guy does a little stunt. He went undercover at an Amazon factory, and he looked at it and how all these drivers are working, and the amount of them are literally pissing in their bottles in the van. And then on the way out of the Amazon factory, there's bottles everywhere where their drivers don't even stop him they just do it in the van because they're just plowing through as many as they can.
I was
they get
going to
paid?
say,
And they're all
On the
slagging off
amount?
Amazon for it. And I was like, because that's the way they're programmed to work, and who knows. But it's an interesting watch.
but I've heard they're under pressure, and
Yeah.
that's the issue, isn't it? The courtesy, what you're saying, they just, and I think they're under so much pressure to deliver X amount of parcels
Demand, yeah.
that they've got to stop the vehicle in the road. They ain't even got time to park it.
I had
you
it.
know what I mean? And
Well, that's because they're
little bit-
obviously getting paid on the amount they do, isn't it?
Yeah, they was talking to them about the conditions inside the factory they're working and all this, and it was like really making it feel hard done by for these people. And I was like, hang on a sec, you ain't digging holes in the middle of fucking winter on a building site covered in crap, and then potentially get knocked at the end of the week because you ain't getting paid. I was like, it's not that bad where you are. It wasn't great, don't get me wrong, they should be treated better, but there's a lot worse out there. And it's optional, that job. If you don't like it, you go and find another job. I know it's not as easy as that for some people, but you're not being.
But there's
it's not
plenty of those
forced.
type of jobs around, isn't there?
Yeah.
That's there is plenty of
Yeah.
that delivery type
Yeah.
of parcel delivery stuff. But yeah, absolute. I don't know, they're a scourge. What happened to going to the shops? I just don't know what, maybe I'm getting too old.
do you know what it is?
Go to the shops, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but the shops is all right. But what the councils have made it one way, and they've made it hard
Yeah,
work,
made it possible.
and then the car parks all over there, and the car parks managed by one of these car park companies, where if you're a minute over your time, you're getting a 90 quid fine, and no wonder people go on Amazon. It's hard work.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the councils need to invest in Amazon then, rather than because they're skint, aren't they? So maybe
Yeah, could have bought shares.
They give them all shares or
But that's
something.
the shit. W line the whole high street. No one's stopping to go into the shop, are they? You got to go and park up, like you say. It's aggro. That's why the high street's dead, isn't it? Basically.
Yeah.
Everywhere's dead. isn't it?
I've had this conversation with a mate of mine, and we were saying, there's a couple of high streets near us, and I'll be honest with you, that when the missus says to me, should we pop up there? It's like my worst nightmare. I'd rather go and do the ironing or something. You know what I mean? Like something boring like that, because I know it's not the high street. I've got no problem walking up the high street. I quite like it, and looking in the shops and all that good stuff like that. What I can't deal with is the route in and the route out and the parking situation, because you can have aggro all the way in. It's just you spend an hour trying to get to town, and then an hour coming out, and then not messing about with a car. You know what I mean? It's not easy. Is
Plenty
it?
of Turkish barbers now, though. That's one thing
There's
that's popping
loads,
up,
yeah.
And the high street's been propped up by Turkish barbers.
Some of them do the fire still and burn you. Oh, my ears.
Get the nose.
Is that There's a conspiracy about all that, though, isn't there? You know?
Yeah,
What do you mean?
100%.
Yeah.
The
Well, they're
pop-up
saying
ones.
there's so many. There's one street I think it was, I don't know whereabouts it in the UK, but it was in a space of 100 metres. I think there was 9 barbers there.
Maybe there's a lot of people with a lot of hair.
Well, that's what they're saying, that there's just fronts for other businesses.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And chicken shops and stuff like that.
Well,
Yeah,
sweet
there was a
shops in
statistic,
London
I can't remember what it was, but it was something like in the last 4 years, Turkish barbers has doubled in the whole of the UK, completely just doubled. There's quite a village around my way we come through, and there's one just popped up, a massive one. You're thinking, hang on a sec, this is just old Karen, the local barber's being done right over here by,
Yeah.
There's only 7 people in this village.
Yeah,
We've got 7 barbers.
Around by where we are,
Yeah.
And again, I won't say where, but because it's obvious what the shop is. But the guy turns. You can't just go. I'll go and get my haircut at 10 o'clock. You can go down there because he's either there or he's not.
Yeah.
So he's not that bothered by the trade. And this is a small little village. So, but he's been there for a few years now.
Yeah.
He obviously only wants to make £10 a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
These books say otherwise.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's all hearsay and speculation. What's doing your wedding, Steve?
Oh, I was talking about this yesterday, actually. I said to the boys who I work with, what do I get aggravated most about? And I think the biggest reaction I've seen is cardboard cup holders at the likes of McDonald's. Things like when you order a coffee. and
When you
come-
get the little sleeves.
And they come with not those ones, the double ones or the quadruple ones.
Oh, you
right,
put them in,
yeah,
the
they
cup
do my
holders.
flicking lid in, literally. Pardon the pun. But I don't know what it winds me up, because they'll give me one. I'll order a fresh orange juice and a coffee and a toffee latte. And I'll literally order that, and they'll give me one. The fresh orange
toffee
one.
latte.
I do like
you
a
can
toffee
tell he's
latte.
from Essex, can't you?
Yeah, you can, yeah.
And a cart coffee.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know why, it just does me Sweden massively. And they give it to you, and I'm like, just give me the coffee. I'll put them in. I'm in 2024. My van's got a cup holder. I'll put it in that, and then I end up with about 10 of these fucking things on the floor. And I just say no to them at the window now, and I normally get a bit snappy. My wife noticed it as well. She said you get really snappy when they give them things. I'm like, there's no need for them. Just pass the right time. People are in the car. They've asked for the drink. I'm not a coffee delivery service. I'm not going to line them all up in my van. And you put that on the seat, you're spinning it all anyway. So
yeah, but I think there is a need for them. I think when you've had a few and you ain't driving, and you go to the drive-through McDonald's with your mates, and you press the button, you talk to them making out of your vehicle, because you can't get, because there's a queue coming out of the shop. So the best way to get your food quickly is to walk around as you make out of your car. You need it then. You need to carry it, because you're going to get your 2 coffees or your 2 drinks. And because you ain't in your car, are you?
I didn't realise it was a problem. So my missus has picked up on me, and the boys who were the girls in the van said you really grind your gears. And I was thinking sachets as well. Sachets is one I've always said. If I run the country, I'd ban sachets.
What, the
ketchup.
sachets of ketchup?
Yeah.
Do you know what would you do then? How would you do that?
Just get a bottle of ketchup.
What, do you like the little square
or even one
ones?
the cut ones are decent, but the sachet things are shit.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, you can't, and you end up all over your own.
And then you got your food in your hand. You can't open the next one if you've got greasy hands.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'll just.
Do you know what? I second that. Yeah.
So you're walking down the road after a football match or something like that. You go and get your burger, and you go no.
If you're in a
and
stand,
you pull out like a ketchup bottle and give it some.
But if it's any decent establishment, they do it. They have the bottles there for you. But if you're literally at a footy game or rugby game, whatever you're watching, you're in the queue, and you get there, you're getting hot dog and chips, and then they go, "There's the sachets." Would you have them over just a bottle of ketchup? You just get a quick do.
Can I just add to that, right?
Yeah.
Does my head in, right? Have you ever said, "Oh, excuse me, have you got any ketchup?" Right, and they give you one sachet, right?
So there's not enough in one sachet.
No,
That's the part
has anyone
of the point.
anyone with any common sense realised, right? If I worked in somewhere and they said, "Could I have some ketchup?" Right, I would say the average is 3.
Yeah.
Right. I'd give you 3 sachets, not because I'm wasting money, not because one, I feel like by giving me one, you're taking the piss out of me.
Yeah.
I feel offended.
Yeah.
You're better off to say I ain't got none.
Yeah.
Right. I'd go, "Oh, thanks, mate." Right. But if you give me one, it's like,
I think you put 2 boys near.
There was one. There was one.
There's something
the rounder ones.
There's something deeper.
Yeah, there was one of the rounder ones. There was a bigger one, slightly bigger, and they had a bit of a stiffer cap. So you actually twisted them, and they.
I know
off.
them ones.
Yeah, they were spot on.
They started with a brown sauce, didn't they?
Yeah. HP done it. Then Heinz got on board, and they had it, and then that's veered off. It's probably a bit too much plastic or something, and they've changed their ideas or whatever. But yeah, that nearly resolved the issue. But apart from that, the world's brilliant.
When you was younger, like like the tubes, the cardboard used to get with the cling foil. Your mum didn't used to beat you that when she's done, did she? That you've got this obsession with cardboard or something.
No, I think. No, there's just that really. I've got a sauce problem. My missus has got under that. You have sauce with everything. Don't care what it is. Just a certain sauce.
Well, this is what winds up people that I go out with. It don't matter where I go. I can go to the. In actual fact, what's that guy who does the gold steak? What's his name?
Oh yeah, the guy in the bar, isn't it?
Yeah. Now I want to go to his restaurant because every time, no matter what steak I have, and it could be like a £90 steak, I could be out there. They'll say, "Do you want anything?" I'll say, "Yeah, ketchup." And they look at me. It don't matter how the steak's done. I'll have ketchup with it, and it winds everyone up.
That's what you like. It's what you like.
That's what I like, So I've got a sauce problem, I think. So I've definitely got a sauce divide. Because I can't abide by the brown sauce. I'm from the south. I believe we're tomato sauce people. There's the bacon.
No. You got that wrong. I've got a rule about this, right?
Yeah, but you're from Kent. It's different,
right? So basically, right, it's red sauce on everything. Unless it's a breakfast, it's brown. If you got chips on your breakfast, that's brown. If you got chips with your pie and chips, that's red.
No.
Yeah.
I'm going to get slated for this.
Yeah.
I like mayo on my full English breakfast.
Yeah, but you're from middle class England, you know what I mean?
Mayo,
privilege up for you there.
It's just that breakfast.
Like millennial.
I actually go brown sauce on everything, and then the chips on the dish, put ketchup on them. So it's both.
Oh, she'll have brown and red.
Yeah. Wow. Now we spoke about this about a year ago actually, on a road trip that we went on, and someone said that about both sauces, and I said, yeah, I'm going to go with that.
Because you're not really London boys. I'm a Camden boy, and the saying, there's no brown in town. It goes for your shoes and your sauce.
I've never forgot that time I turned up somewhere, I had brand shoes on, and the first thing he said to me, it ruined me for the day, right? He went, "There's no brand in town."
We was in London. We was at an event in London. There's no brand in town. When you go to a proper event in London, you wear black shoes. You don't wear brand with the blue and the brown. That's
I know that now, but you ruined my day.
That's an Essex, a
country
Kent.
file.
That's a country. That's a that's what it is. What about you, Charlie? What's happening with you?
Mate, mine's a bit of a more serious one, I think. Mine's a bit of a deeper one.
Donald Trump.
It probably
Can you get deeper than that?
We won't get, that's pretty good. That is, the source situation is quite deep, to be fair. But now mine's and hopefully fairly fitting with the what you're trying to do with the whole mental health thing. And I think that ultimately for me, I think that the last few weeks, for some reason, I've noticed such a massive like load of misinformation, rubbish, negative comments, everything like that, all on the social media. And I just think do you know what? I don't know who the people are that write all this stuff and try and all these trolls and stuff, that are trying to gain reactions and whatever it is. But I just see all this, that chap Liam Payne, I think his name was, died, with it on the balcony, I think last week, member of One Direction, and I was looking at some of the comments and stuff, and they were horrendous. And I just think what sort of world are we living in? Where people are really going to going out their way to put just fake news online about those sorts of situations, negative comments, just horrible stuff. And so that's sort of doing my head in, because I'm what's going on? Where are these? Who are these people?
But do you know what though? Do you know what, Charlie? I'm working with, on a serious note, I'm working with a guy. He's I'd call him a life coach. I've always had a coach in my life, to do with business, to do with, spiritual or mental support, whatever you call it. And that could be a mate that you can talk to, But I think that's the difference I've seen. So the generation jump is the guy falls off the balcony. No one wants to see someone fall off the balcony. You'd be in the pub and somebody would make a funny joke about it, the UK sense of humour, and then it would gone. But funny jokes and that kind of humour don't always come across on social media, do they?
No.
And people then put something down, think it's funny, everyone jumps on the back of it because they're upset, and before you know it, you've got a bit of a shit show.
Yeah.
But I'm working with a guy, and lucky enough, I've done this because I'm a social media fucking lunatic when it comes down to things, and because of work, you're pushed into that.
Yeah.
But I haven't read the news or watched the news for a week. Do you know what? I feel a lot better for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely not reading fake news. On the social media side, I'm still not at that stage, but I've got a couple of friends that have just deleted the apps.
Yeah.
Get rid of Facebook. Get rid of it. The Instagrams of this world are probably okay because you're looking at one or two pictures. It's who you're following. But I don't know what the answer is, but I do agree. It's a complete shit show at the moment.
A few years ago, I deleted. I thought I'll delete Instagram, but then I thought, actually no, I'm not going to delete it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete everyone that I follow that I'm not happy with following. Right. So I got rid of all of that, and then now I've sort of got an Instagram profile that I see stuff that I'm interested in. Tips with construction, which obviously clearly I need with regards to the bungalow, how to build a wall, that sort of thing, and that's all brilliant. But then what happens is,
let's get it right, you cancelled them ones.
So no, you might think that, but no. So I've got those sort of coming up on my feed. But what seems to happen is the way that the algorithms work is that then it just starts throwing in stuff about American politics, you said about Trump, just random stuff that's just completely, rubbish, and it's just clickbit material.
It's
and even
testing you, isn't it?
Yeah,
Seeing what you do,
yeah, exactly. And it's almost I don't want to see this stuff, and it's, I just find it a bit mad, really.
Across all channels, Twitter is where the human brain goes to rot.
Twitter's horrendous at the moment.
I go on there, I'm like, I just woke up in the morning, I didn't want to see someone get decapitated.
Honestly.
And I'm like, and it's clean on there, holy, what? It might just be my algorithm, maybe I'm looking at dodgy stuff, but there's stuff on there, I'm just that is poisonous. Not the stuff, what's on there.
My most reached post on Twitter, because I don't go on X or Twitter anymore, really, is recently to do with it, because I don't know what made you doing it. When we're checking social media for work and we're posting stuff on there and all that, you end up going to see how the post's gone. And one of the things that was on there was all about American politics and, you know, Trump this, Trump that, and all about immigrants this and immigrants that. And I just, you know, messing around with AI, so I put like American Indian, red Indian, like with all the headdress and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I just wrote, if your ancestors don't look like this, you're probably an immigrant.
Yeah.
So just
Factually true.
Factually true. And stuck it up on one of these things. I got savaged. Yeah. I think if I was in America, they would have hunted me down and they would have probably hung me from a tree.
Yeah.
But people get, but then they're brave, aren't they, behind the keyboard?
Yeah, they are.
You know, they don't face you up.
Yeah, a lot of them. Are they saying that?
Apart from the
sort of
guy
stuff
keeps
in
on ringing me
public?
at like 3 o'clock in the morning. He's obviously from Texas somewhere. You know what I mean? Ringing me on the phone. You know, giving me abuse. Yeah. I keep on going, how? You know, it's just king craziness.
I'm almost like, you know, got to a point where it's almost a bit confusing because I see that Elon Musk and he's a big advocate for like free speech and stuff like that. And, you know, I also think, you know, free speech is obviously very important, but I feel like as well, where is that line? You know, you say about some of the stuff about, you know, someone get decapitated.
Yeah. There's a point. There's a point I think people have to get. You know, on a serious note, what happens at the moment is people say you can't write that. That's offensive.
Yeah.
But that's not true. It's offensive to me. It don't mean it's offensive to everybody.
Yeah,
and I think that's where the line is.
Yeah.
You know, I'm offended by that. That doesn't mean the world's offended by it, and it doesn't mean it's offensive.
Yeah.
And that's where people are jumping on. But I think, to be honest with you, there is no answer because the debate goes on and on about social media. The less time you can spend on it, I think, and listening to news. You know, you rock up, you've had a hard day. You know, you sat down in front of news at 6 or news at 10 or whatever time you get home, and first thing you think is, this country's just put a missile through the head of that country there, and you're like, right, okay, that guy's just stabbed 2 kids in the park there, and you're like, what's it? I'm not saying that you should have you shouldn't be aware of what's going on in the world, but
do you know what it
really?
is? The headlines, and you've hit the nail on the head there without realising, the headlines are always the doom.
Yeah.
Isn't it, right? They don't ever say, like, if you imagine, I don't know, imagine the government done something great, right?
Imagine.
Right, imagine,
Wow,
imagine
hang on.
they've done
Just
something that
imagining
is
that.
actually good for the country, right? It gets a little mention like that in some other article, but they don't paste that one on the top of the headlines. Instead, they paste, when you read the news at the moment, I read it yesterday, the last few mornings, actually, I like to read in the morning, right? The last few mornings, all I'm read about is what Rachel Reeves is going to do in the budget and how we're all up for doom.
Yeah. And do you know what makes you laugh about that is that, you know, we've got to get the country back on track. Well, we've been doing that for the last 15 years, I think. You know, and then through COVID, we've got to get the country back on track. Before COVID, it was like, you know, the economy was just, look.
I think I saw it through that because I weren't really involved or took much notice of any economy, government or any political stuff before COVID. But then throughout COVID, you start realising, Christ, you can see how much part it plays in it in terms of just, it's even to the point of just get money out there, people spending it, because if people are spending, everything starts moving, but then there's also the negatives to that of people taking the piss out.
How can we go? How is that not like without getting into conspiracy theory? Was that not a manipulation of the people? You know, how all of a sudden have you gone from standing a metre apart, queuing, not being able to go out, you know, to literally hugging and where's the handshake? Everyone said the handshake's gone out of the world, isn't it? You know, no one's going to shake hands every morning. We're going to do that. We all hug each other, shaking. You know, it's like it's if it never happened.
My little girl was born, and I had 20 minutes of her as soon as she was born, and I'd go out. I was 20 minutes in there before Mrs. I think she delivered the baby, and before the baby delivered, and then 20 minutes after I'd get out of the hospital. And then I wouldn't come back till visiting times that day. She was born at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. I couldn't go back till 4 in the afternoon to see her, and I could only see her for an hour at visiting time. And then I'd come away, and then my missus come the day after. But I went out, and I was in the car park the day before because we weren't allowed to go in until she was literally ready to drop. And they literally, when she was about to, the midwife gave us a call and said, "You can come in now, see it." But I was outside the car park, and it was literally like, it was all cars lined up with like a waiting room, blokes in the cars, which it's boiling hot day. All had it was like a rail position. Literally, all the lads in the car park waiting to go to work, and literally everyone had their feet up on their doors in the heat and that, listening to the radio. A load of blokes chatting around, and then someone would get a call. The call would come and go, "You're in," and then another bloke would come out with his family and the baby, and into the car and go. It was so surreal. We were talking about last night. My missus literally watching TV. I was like, looking back at that. That was only 3 years ago, and it seems bizarre that I went down at 5 to 5 or whatever it was, 5 minutes before it shut. So I missed it. Can you get me a cold bottle of water from WH Smith's? Because the fucking lukewarm water in the ward is no good. So I went down and got a fresh bottle of water and a sandwich. Went back up to the ward at 2 minutes past 5 and said, and I pressed the buzzer. They said, "Sorry, visiting times are over." I was like, "I've just literally got a couple of bits for my wife. Can I just drop them in for my wife and my newborn baby?" "Oh, no, sir, no worries. We'll come to the door and take them from you." I was like, "So we can't have cross-contamination." I was like, "I've been in that ward for the last fucking hour. Like, what difference is it going to make?" And they come to the door. They didn't go for it. They literally just took it off me, went back in, and I couldn't say bye to her. So literally, savage. And I thought, and what can you do? And I said, you can't sit and abuse the staff, but I wanted to, but it wasn't going to make anything. But you just think, bizarre world. All for what as well now, looking back when it did actually.
Because it's the same with the social media. It's a reactional thing. People think, right, that's the rules. That's how I'm going to react to it. That's what we've got to do. I can't break that, come away from that rule. Yeah. Like social media, someone said something, I'm offended, that's offensive, therefore, blah, blah, blah. And everyone jumps on. It's just the nature of the world now. We've lost our, I don't know, common sense, I think.
I think it drove us in, especially that time, the last 5 years, it's driven into us all. You've got to be one side of the fence or the other. You can't just have respect for someone who thinks differently. You're right, they're wrong. And it was like Brexit, you're either in, you're out. And then you had COVID, what you think is a conspiracy or not. And then you had the jab, and you have the jab. You can have the jab or not have the jab. Everything was going on was like you had to pick a side all the time.
This is what's going on in America, isn't it? Really? It looks like that, used to be like, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, in the same, maybe not the same family, but similar, you'd have a bit of banter. Having been in America a lot of times in my life, for work and stuff like that, there was always that little bit of banter. But now it's like more or less a civil war. If you're one or the other, there's going to be barricades put up outside your house because your neighbour's like a Democrat.
I went to Leeds, UK Reef, that exhibition. We were out that night, and I had a white shirt on and a gilet. Brown shoes as well. I'll go back on that. And I got called a Tory, see you next Tuesday, by someone to look at you. I was on this bird up, because I was a London accent, Southern accent with a gilet, and I was like, I've never been called that in my life. I don't think I've hardly ever voted in my life. I just found out the other week I'm not even on the electoral roll when I went to vote anyway. So I was like, I've got no kind of political sense to me whatsoever. I don't trust any of them, if it's the most honest side of it. And I was like, but up there, they were just like, it was so, and you can see that with the whole, I think you said Paddy Pimblett, the UFC guy, about the whole Tories and all that, and Tories and Labour, whatever, and there's such a divide between it. And I was like, what? We've been watching, guilty of it, we're watching a bit of Big Brother, the missus of a night at the moment. We've got a little bit into that for the first time in years. And the people talking in there is like, I don't normally mix with people like you, that's this person's like, you're Labour, you're Tory. And I'm just like, I've never gone into a room and thought, I won't mix that person because they might have different government-based beliefs or whatever you want to call it. It's madness. And I thought, there's obviously a lot of people in the world like that, but I just can't see it. It's just like, I don't get it, really.
No, I don't get it. People should, politics is, it's, someone said before, politics is like your penis. It's yours. It's your opinion. Don't push it on by people that don't want to do it. So that's where. Anyway, look, we're here today with Steve, Construction Sport. Thanks for coming in. I've been really excited about you coming in because, we mess about a little bit, but we do like to have a serious nature. You're one of the people, I think, in the industry that everyone talks about mental health. Everyone talks about doing it, but you're the only one who's really, I think, kind of turned their life on their head from being a contractor, really, to what you're doing now. So tell us a bit about, let's start from the beginning. How did this evolve? How did you get in and let the,
so 2016, the idea kind of come about. I was working on Crossrail on there. Had 4 or 5 years on there working for Costains, working direct for them as the main contractor. And noticed at the time we'd given up. We were getting weekend shifts full time. For the 4 or 5 years we were on there, and a lot of us clocked on that. Hang on a sec, this is a good opportunity. A lot of us weren't on the property ladder as such and what the houses. We thought, let's make hay while the sun shines. And as everyone knows now, Crossrail, his money was flying out, and not really much work being built either. But that's a whole new subject. But so I got to the point I knocked rugby on the head because I played rugby every Saturday, and then everyone around me gave up playing football. Everyone gave up their weekends to work, basically. And then we'd have a Wednesday off during the week, so you had to have the 14th day off. You had 13 on, 1 day off, or you done 6 days on, 12 hours, and then you had the 7th day off. So we'd done that. I gave up. Your social life disappeared. And I noticed in myself, and I could see it. We went to, we had a 12-week possession at Shenfield at the far end, eastern side of Crossrail. The sidings that were built down there, Keltbreak were on it, ourselves as Costain, a number of subbies, and they literally said, right, at the end of this, guys, we're going to have a night out in London as a thank you to us guys. I think 8 weeks or 12 weeks, what it was, but we all put every bit of energy we had into the day, and all of us knew this booze up in London's coming. Like, it's coming. It's going to be a good night. We're getting the company credit card, and we're going to enjoy ourselves. And we all went up to the city, and we got on the train. Now looking back at it, we got on the train at Shenfield. It's only 20 minutes to Liverpool Street. We loaded that train up like we were on it going to be on for 4 or 5 hours with booze. We went to the Tesco, loaded up with big bottles of beer, with the big 40CLs, what they are, the Stellas, and we hammered them all the way to Liverpool Street. We came out of Liverpool Street, went straight into Dirty Dick's outside Liverpool Street, and just got absolutely hammered. Within about 2 hours, half of us from the way home, half of us were kicked out of the pub. A lot of lads went back and we were fighting for their marriages just because of states they were. One of the lads was on the train being patted by an old lady thrown up into a bag on his own. It was just complete carnage. But we all look back at it and say, what a night. The director turned up a bit late to literally come and see everyone. He got thrown up on by one of the lads, one of the engineers of ours. It was hilarious. It was complete carnage, and it was just ruthless. And we went back that week after the following week and spoke about it, and it's good. But in my head, I was like, that is the way that construction is addressing this, that lads have a blowout. And I was just like, yeah, it worked for one night, but it ain't worked in terms of half of us just spent a weekend now around with our other halves at home. We've pissed the family off. We've had a weekend literally on the sofa dying, and you can't shake off a hangover like you used to. And it was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And I was like, I've just a few years prior to that, I'd done London and Paris bike ride, and I thought, I've really enjoyed that, and it was a good challenge to set yourself to. And I looked online, I was like, let's do a challenge. I'll put a challenge together and get everyone to do it. And I wanted to do something a bit out of the ordinary, what hadn't been done before, and it's probably what we carry on doing today. And I thought, let's walk Crossrail. No one's ever walked Crossrail. There was a few people done a bit in few lines in the middle of it, a few stations. I said, no, we're going to walk every single station from Reading all the way to Whitechapel, then down to Abbey Wood, then back to Liverpool Street, and then come down to the kind of Anglia side. And we've done every stop on there, and we walked on the roads, not on the actual railway itself, over 3 days. And I proposed it to senior management in the company, and they were just kind of like, what, you want to be signed off? I said, we get 2 charity days. And they went, okay, we'll give you them. I didn't tell them that we needed 3 days. I said, just do it, and just, who's going to moan us? So I just literally, with this idea, went to a couple of lads who was working with us, said, I'm going to do this. I'm doing it on my own. If it needs to, I'm going to do it. You want it? And they would literally went, yeah, we'll do it with you. And then 2 of them said, yeah. Another lad, the charity of the choice on the project was Macmillan. One of the lads on there, he just lost his granddad prior to that through cancer, and he dealt with Macmillan as well, so he knew the goodness of what they could do. He then said, literally, I want to be on it. And then a couple more people, we had 6 of us do it, I think 6 or 7 of us, and then when one of the girls, Nikki, was a gold, and she was like the angel, the mother of she drove the van, the support driver, and she literally mothered us all along it. But it was unbelievable. Like, we didn't look at, I knew in my head I need to do something a bit positive. Didn't really think of the mental health stuff. Construction didn't have much going on in terms of mental health. It wasn't really mentioned then. It wasn't, in terms of the charity side of it as well, there was nothing that I knew of what mentioned mental health and wellbeing. So I literally put this together, and then on day 2, one of the guys on it was literally gone a bit quiet and was literally said to me, Steve, tomorrow can I have the map, and I'll get this done and I'll lead the way tomorrow. He put his headphones on, stayed quiet the whole day, and just powered all the way back. Now, he was the big macho guy who literally, you always say you heard him on site before you saw him. He was covered in diesel all the time and oil, and he's a big P-way engineer. Anyway, he led that on the 3rd day, didn't say a thing, but at the finishing line, his little boy was there, he was 6 years old, and his missus, and they were in absolute bits. And I thought, Jesus Christ, what have we done here? I don't know what's gone on, but he's obviously hit a spot here. I wasn't too sure if positive or negative. What have I done in a way? And he came up to me after, and she said, you'll never understand what you've done for me over the last 3 days. And I was like, well, his boy had been in and out of hospital for the last few years, Great Ormond Street, with a number of health issues. And I just thought, Jesus Christ. My honest words were, Chris, I only done it because we had 3 days on the credit card and we go to the bar every night. So it was ideas to have a bit of a booze up over 3 days. But we were all too knackered after walking 33 miles. We'd done 100 miles over 3 days. We were all too knackered to get on the beers in the evening. We just went to bed. So, but it was amazing. And we'd done that on the 3rd day and I thought, Christ, that's hit. I didn't really think of that. I thought in my own head. I didn't realise other people were in the same boat in different ways. So then, after it, a couple of people, one of the other guys come to me and said, thank you, Steve, I lost my granddad. I just gave me a good time to kind of have a bit of, get through a tough stage he's had for the last few months. And then I just thought, there's got to be more than this. So then I started looking into it more. And that's when I started really researching. So in 2016, looking at what mental health and construction looks like. And then it was nothing. And then a few charities were there, not really, they weren't touching on the subject at all. And I thought, there's got to be more to this. I said, all you need to do is have a kickabout. So I organised a 5-side football tournament on the job, on the actual project. I played, I got sent off, and then I kicked off with someone else, got my nose broken. And that was just, but it was a good outlet. I didn't go and smash each other up. And then off the back of that, I left that project and went on to AMK Deepham's, what is Acon Murphy's and Kia joint venture, and that Thames Water job. And they didn't have anything going on for it. So I went to the director of the project, Phil Hobson, his name was, and I knew he was into Ironman competitions. And I said to him, I was like, you know Ironman, I know you're mentally prepared for this stuff. I've got this idea. And he said, what's that? I said, I've done a walk on Crossrail and I want to do another walk on this one. I said, we're going to go from Croydon, where ACOM's satellite office was, to Kentish Town, where Murphy is, and then up to Hertfordshire, or Sandy, where Kia's big office was back in the day. So we've done that over 2 days, and I've done that with 5 or 6 other people. A massive effect on those guys as well, in kind of indirectly. They just enjoyed a day out. We had a guy who'd been labouring for 2 weeks as a scaffolder, walking alongside the project director, and they were walking along having a laugh and a joke like 2 mates, and there was no titles whatsoever. They were just 2 blokes having a laugh. And I realised then, I was like, we've stripped them of their titles and their careers, and we're just putting 2 people in a room and then literally saying, look what happens on a walk. And it did, and that was massive to them too, and that whole team again. We raised 5-6 grand on that one, and then the project director come to me and said that we haven't got a charity on this project. Can you put this towards setting up your own one? And I was literally just a groundworks foreman, a works manager foreman role on that job. And I didn't have a clue how to do it. But then I knew I had a few people in my book who could help me out. So I reached out to a best mate of mine, who's a golfer in the golfing world, coach, and I said that he studied golf at university, believe it or not, that is a thing, a PGA degree.
Wow.
Absolute fraud.
Got to be one of Charlie's mates.
And then he had actually been asked to set up a charity as part of his uni package or whatever, what he'd done his studies. And then his sister is also, plays a big part in the legal team at Oxfam. So I was like, oh, hang on a sec, they've got 2 people here who could really help, and they're 2, I've known them in my life and I trust them with my life. And yeah, and we went from that day, went through the charity stuff. That kind of took 2 or 3 years to kind of get that moving. And then we got launched, the charity number got issued to us a few weeks before COVID. And then we started going from then. Reached out to a few other charities. I thought, I've got an idea what we're doing here, and this could support all these charities. And then I discovered that no other charities, the charity space is worse than business in terms of rivalry. It's awful. They don't want to talk to each other. They all fighting for the same cause. It's all about coming together, and the last thing they want to do is come together. And I've seen that. I've been in the room with all the CEOs in the construction world now. We had 10 of us in the room last year. Everyone had to stay in their own lanes, we were told, and it was just, and I thought, this is poisonous. Like, why is it acting like this, and why has it been allowed to be like this?
Ego, isn't it?
Yeah, massive egos. Egos and just territorial, and just a strange world. And we're not there for the big funds and money, and like these other ones are. We're not a multi-billion pound entity, but we are there just to literally have a laugh. Like I know, and since I'm doing this over the years, construction workers need opportunities to enjoy themselves, because we go home at weekends and we do everything we can for our families and provide, and we go to work. We go home at the weekends to enjoy ourselves with the family, and we have to be around them. And then during the week we're providing, but there's not a lot of time in the pressure environments we are nowadays to literally just blow off a bit of steam yourself. Now we feel from our side that the industry has a responsibility to create those opportunities for people to do it. It should become part of an employer's role, is to make sure their staff are fit and healthy.
This is what fascinates me about it. Maybe you can put some light on, right, and the difficulties that you're having, because we talk about before a few weeks ago about how difficult it is to get people into the industry.
Yeah.
We talked about social media and how when there was a survey between children, over 9,000 kids in the country, done by a particular contractor, and it turned out that the survey wasn't about what you wanted to do. It turned into who do you want to work for.
Yeah.
And construction come 97th.
Yep.
And it was Balfour Beatties.
Yep.
And the usual top 10 were I want to work for Google, I want to work for these people.
Yeah.
And I always say, you know, everyone thinks I'm against McDonald's. I'm not. McDonald's was number 36. Yeah. Well, they never have a shake. That's probably what it is. But the shake machine never worked. But they were number 36. Now, what does that tell you? That they sell themselves better, and maybe the environment that they're offering is a little bit better than what we offer.
Yep.
So we can't encourage people into the industry, but we don't take mental health that seriously by the sound of it, do we? Within the industry, what do you come up against? Why do you think that is?
There's no money in it, and that's literally the truth. There's no money for business. No business opportunity to make money in the short term for companies to do it. And that's what we see all the time. They want a quick one stop, and you see a lot of them now. There's big CEOs turning around every 3-4 years. The amount I've seen on big entities and charities, the CEOs are just turning all the time. Everyone wants short, sharp answers, and mental health ain't going to get it. It's going to be a long-term issue. But surely, we need to do more. Yeah, go on.
Sorry, I was going to say, surely it's in a company's interest to aid mental health, because ultimately you're going to have a happier, more productive shift, aren't you?
Yeah, it's moral. I morally don't get it. Like how. And with Sunday, I spoke to, I don't care, so at Morgan Sindel, I spoke down and one of their senior directors on the South Coast literally just turned it all to what is this going to do for my figures? And I was like, I should have just walked out the room then. I was like, there's no point me even being here. Like, if your mindset's there, I'm fine, thank you. So then I come away from that. We've spoken to companies all the time, and it's all about, like, I bash my head in the wall because sometimes it's like, I'm just trying to organise a kickabout, and anyone can do this. But then I spoke to a few people in good positions in the industry, and they're like, yeah, but Steve, you're probably the only one who's trying to organise a kickabout. And I was like, yeah, okay, so I might have a point here, but it's so basic. Why am I the only one trying to do it on a scale where everyone gets involved? Now, we don't any proof was in the pudding with that programme there, but we had 150 of us last week at Saracen Stadium, Stonex Stadium, for a game of rugby. And we teed it up because I knew a lot of Irish lads in the industry. We had one team Ireland, we had one team construction. I said to England, I said to the boys, you're representing your country. We had replica kits made for everyone and done it, and we got companies all behind it. People had the best day ever last week. We had such a good crack. We raised a decent amount of money, supported us. The day actually made money for a change. It didn't cost us anything. We come away in the plus of what was the first time in a long, long time.
So inevitably we have to stop for 5 minutes or so and for our sponsors keep us going. So PAR for one of their sponsors. I've worked with PAR for a number of years, and as I've said before, I feel they've been a major part of our business growth strategy.
One of the key things for me is obviously when you look at other businesses, they specialise in every sector. They don't have any. There's no niche. The great thing for me is PARF is the niche for our industry. The people that they've got on the books are for our industry. The vacancies that they have are for our industry. So for me and for anybody else dealing with PARF, it is the go-to place for the construction and plant hire industry.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate the comments there, guys, and absolutely right. We that's our specialist. That's all we deal with. So we've been, established for the last 20 plus years, and ultimately we've got hundreds of clients that use us that keep coming back, and that's because we keep filling the roles. We've got a team of 13 people that are all very, very well trained and very, very knowledgeable in the industry, and ultimately, that's our bread and butter. That's what we do.
Why that construction sport part? Why does it, what you've mentioned there, why is that so important, and why does that work?
Yeah, so I'd done it. The idea come probably again 2017, 2018 when I started floating around this idea, because we were called Let Off Steam before, and I changed that to construction sport because it become a little bit easier to sell it basically. But I noticed that construction workers, we all love sport. And now at that same time, I'd been speaking with Saracens. I've been speaking to them quite a bit over the last 6-7 years. And they had the Saracens Sport Foundation at the time. It's changed now to the Saracens Foundation, I believe. And I looked at it and I was like, the model and how they worked. And I was like, I got talking to them. And then they said to me, can we sponsor an event we done at UK Construction Week at the NEC? They sponsored a touch rugby tournament we done within the exhibition. And I was fascinated by why would they want to sponsor a construction. And I knew nothing about marketing or hospitality or anything at this point. And I was just literally a ground worker. And I literally spoke to their hospitality team and I was like, why are you so interested? And they said, Steve, I think 60% of their hospitality, 60% of their income comes from construction-based companies through the revenue within their club, whether that be hospitality, sponsorship, advertisement, whatever it is. And then my mind started ticking then, and I was like, okay. And then I went on every website for every Premiership rugby team, and on the home page, somewhere on that home page, the first click, there was a construction team. You had Jewsons at Gloucester, I think, at the time. Travis Perkins, a part of Northampton for years. Steele were part of Leicester. Saracens had, I think, Randstad, the recruitment side of it. They were a big part in that as well. And just every single one had a touch, and whether it be on the shirt or the billboard in the game behind, the players' sponsorship or anything. And in my head, I was like, and I know that echoes around football. We've got West Ham over the years was surrounded by it, and even Man United was born of just factory workers putting a team together. And in my head, it was just like, the love for sport is already in our industry. We can use sport to literally... Well, everyone's passionate about sport, innit? Even to the local plasterer sports, he sponsors his little kids' football team and things like that. But I'm like, the passion for sport is already here. Sport has the answers to mental health from our perspective. Why don't we just flip this on its head and make it work for us as an industry? The military have got sport all over the shop. People go to join the military. I nearly joined the Royal Marines because I wanted to do an Arctic warfare studies, basically. I wanted to go to Norway and ski for a living, and then the Twin Towers come down, Middle East kicked off, and then I bottled it completely because I wanted to go ski and not dance around in the sand, basically. So I bottled that completely, put my hands up, and I didn't want it. But I was lured to the military world because of a sports-based advert on TV that said I can go skiing for my life. So I was lured into that. And they use that massively. And then I know rugby players who've joined the army just to go and play rugby around the world. They don't even touch a rifle. They don't even, but they just play sport. But then I went to watch with my boy. We went to watch my kids' Little Mermaid last year at the cinema, and it's a U-rated film. And they had to join the military, join the army today advert at the cinema. Today, they know the kids that use a U-rated film. They know the kids ain't joining today, but they're planting the seeds in these kids. They're the early doors, so they can grow up going, I want to be a soldier. I want to be a soldier. And that you see through, literally, I saw that the way the military, that's brilliant. I know and I understand now is everything's funded differently. So construction everyone's on their own tangent really in construction, so there's never going to be a central advert put out like that. But that they're putting that into these kids.
Isn't that what CITB was meant to be?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, where's that gone? Yeah, exactly. And then that's just not there. But I was like, the military are doing this so well. And then I looked into that, I thought, but they're not using that just for the recruitment side of it. Well, they are using it massively for recruitment sport, but they're using that to address the mental health of their serving personnel as well. Like all these guys in there are loving it. They're going having all this trouble in the Middle East, and they're coming back and getting involved in any sport. They get a day off in the weeks purely to get involved with sport. And okay, we operate in very different ways. We're a very different industry, but there's no way that we can't do something like that.
There is an irony, though, isn't it? Like what we're talking about here is because I don't know, but I presume that every time you come up to a contractor, you get them kind of difficulties about trying to get them to buy into some kind of thing. And I was talking about you to contract somebody within the mental health department, if you like, within a major contractor. And I said, I know this person would be ideal for you if you're looking for new opportunities. And I was always talking to a friend of mine, and his wife works for the same company. Yeah. And she sent a photograph where you would, and I said, well, what? And you had attended this, and I'll tell you off who it was. And they said, oh, they didn't want to pay any money into it. And you think, well, 60%, as you just said, are spending their money in some kind of corporate entertainment, all right? Yeah. So they've got a fund somewhere to spend money on something. And I know that's attracting customers, but surely now customers with a moral background would want to get in something more meaningful than just going to see a game of football or rugby. And the other thing is the amount of rebates that we're still getting as suppliers that you have to put forward to contractors. You know, there's prebates now. You know, before you start, can you pay me X amount of money to get on my supply chain? While you're in it, can you give me 5% at the end of the, based on what you spend? Someone's even classed one as an immobilisation fee. So, you come in, take over my supply, get into my supply chain, you pay us X amount of money. Maybe some of these contractors or supply chain people, rather than taking a rebate, there should be a tax or something similar to go towards the mental health of the business, because all I see that the contractors are doing at the moment is ticking a box, and we're all probably guilty of companies, I'd say we're not just contractors. Right, yeah, I've got to get a mental health, my management mental health trained, tick. But that's not that's not solving the mental health problem. No. It's just making people aware and making people able to maybe deal with an issue. But they're not solving the problem and doing what you're doing, are they?
But it's bigger than that as well, Mark, because if you look at the data here, and I'll just bounce some statistics around, right? I've got here, so these are from specifically the construction industry, 87% of workers experience anxiety currently, 70% experience depression, 97% have felt stressed in the past year. 26% of construction professionals have considered suicide, with 56% stating they had at least once thought of leaving the industry due to stress and poor mental health. So, talking about what you just said and actually looking at the data, it's actually a massive problem, and it does need money put into it.
So what is the suicide rate? Sorry, do you know?
Yeah, the suicide rate is not known, 100%. That is the truth, and that is from the ONS.
It's not counting. I spoke to someone the other day. We spoke with the ONS through
Andy Stevens of the Build Network UK, and he's been speaking with them. And there's talk now coming back that the statistics that have gone out has literally took into account people for trades, but trades takes on pretty much anyone who does a college course, hairdressers, anything like that. I can't feel off the top of my head. All these different things. It's not known. It's madness. There's been an awful, like us put out a survey years ago from Caledonia University. They've admitted the guy from there. We've seen evidence. They're saying they had to kind of assume a few things within that study. It's not factually true. They don't know. They do not know. You've got X amount of people killing themselves, they're saying, and then not one suicide within construction has ever been investigated by the HSE. Fact. That's the maddest thing. So RIDDOR's, Reportable Injuries, Diseases, Dangerous Occurrences Regulations. I'm a big one. I put it on the side of a van and stuck it in the middle of the exhibition, just saying make suicide a RIDDOR. And then I think the lady who was taking over HSE laughed at me when she walked through. She went, "Oh, that would never happen." I thought it's quite funny. You find that it's quite interesting. You find that funny because the family I just spoke to yesterday, whose son just killed himself in Raleigh in Essex, didn't quite had the same idea as you or the impression. But you have the RIDDOR system, and then you have people killing themselves on site, and it's happening on site. More than you, I can name many of main contractors who know this as well. And people kill themselves on site or off site. How many business owners you'll probably know as well have taken their own lives because of the stresses and payment systems. Yeah, you've got an industry what's saying the high pressure in industry, working away from home, transit working, drugs and alcohol is a problem. All these different factors is why we've got the highest rate of suicide in construction. So we're openly admitting our industry is playing a factor. But as soon as someone takes their own life on site or off site, the HSE deem it as a personal issue and it gets taken away, so the company does not have to go down the reporting process. That means that it then gets put on straight to a coroner, and a coroner will just deem the person has died by.
So they've got no real liability or no. They've got no responsibility is the word, isn't it?
No,
for the contractor to.
No, there's no reason to. The last thing they need to, they're not going to be responsible for that person's death, whether they've pushed them to it or not. They're not going to be held liable. So do
you think mental health, pardon the pun, is become a nice to have?
Yeah, pretty much. With
construction,
there's a big one with it, and we've spoken to a lady called Professor Sarah Walters. Now, she was the head of the inquest for Ruth Perry. The name was a head mistress. You might have seen it in the national media. She was a head mistress that took her own life off the back of the Ofsted report. Now, that's come to light that the pressure from the Ofsted report pushed her to take her own life, and she left that, I think, in a note. And it's just come out recently, they're changing the outstanding, and that the ways they level Ofsted will change from just a single word to more of a documented description, because I think it's too direct and too impactful on a teacher to literally have to deal with. If they don't hit that category, that all goes to that headmaster or headmistress. Now that's gone through all that, and this lady, this Professor Sarah Walters, has studied French law and employment law in France, and they've successfully taken a few people. There was a company out there who had multiple suicides within the company, and there's 2 directors who got taken to prison in the end for it out there. Now, I'm not saying let's go round to every suicide that's happened in the construction world and send all these directors to prison, but I'm just saying if we had legislation in place, a RID order in place, or some form of way that it's legislated that if someone takes their own life, investigations need to take part to a certain degree. And I'm not saying that start going through people's personal lives, but I think we all know that if you walk into a place where people work, you would get a fucking good impression within 2 or 3 minutes if it's a good place or a bad place to work. Now, these people are taking their own lives, and then it goes away, nothing happens, and before we know it, it just gets forgotten about. But why can't companies be held responsible to a certain point where they have to show that they're doing X amount of things proactively to support their staff and putting means in place? I'm not just saying let's give people a helpline or give them a leaflet, that'd be fine, that's enough. But we get that now. A guy just died in North London 2 weeks ago, had a heart attack. Every contractor just got given here's a helpline, ring them. Please pass this to your staff. Everyone's back on site the day after. Couldn't give a shit.
Do you think, though, I'll get a couple of controversial things.
Yeah.
Do you think, our sector is banter, culture? Do you think that plays a part in the mental health in construction workers, or do you think that we should not, we should embrace that? Or
the banter and the social, I think, is the best part of it. The thing that I can see what's doing it, what we clearly see, is pressure on people. Now, we can't, and even talk about kids and youngsters coming, apprenticeships coming in, there is no room for these apprentices to work on the sites we're working on because we're under too much pressure. We can't have slackers. And we've sacked someone a couple of weeks ago. I had to do it, and I'm the one there single. I've got a groundworks division, I've got a mental health charity. I'm having a tear up with someone on site and tell him where to go. But I'm literally having to do that because I've got my bills to pay. And there's a very fine balance, and I know that. But that's the truth of this industry: is if you ain't pulling your weight, you're off. Yeah. And that's
we've had that conversation. We've had Gavin Elson, who's a trainer for CPCS, excavator operators, and now we go from this red card to blue card scenario where nobody wants that person. They put all their effort into being an apprentice, getting to their qualification. They're either not allowed on site because they're not old enough, so they can't learn, or they're not given the opportunity to learn. So therefore, we need to get this done, and off you go.
So there's literally there's no middle ground. I believe if you built the mental health space and whatever that looks like, and for every person and every company it'll look different because everyone has different needs and hobbies and interests and ways that people relax or do whatever. But if it could be built into legislation, it would then be built into programs within jobs, so then the program will then have to allow for X amount of whatever to support their staff, what would then allow for a little less pressure on the program. It would mean payment systems need to change, anyone, because everyone's suffering with them. You can see that with the likes of obviously ISG the other day as well. But
the fair play charter is obviously not a charter, is it?
Non-existent. Yeah. So you've got all that. So none of that is working. And my biggest anger with it, and I've been grown up to kind of be, if you've done something wrong, put your hands up and be accountable. And I've had my hands up a lot of times in my life to go, I've messed up, and I still do till today. I get that. But always just be the big man. Just put your hands up and say, I've messed up here. Nobody in the last 10 years of construction mental health has been held accountable for the fact that suicide's gone up and up and up and up and up. There has been, I could give you a whole list of campaigns that have got in place and been funded heavily by the likes of CITB or the Lighthouse, all these other charities, are pumping so much money into something. Not one of those people in any of those organisations or entities is standing up to saying, this has to stop now. This has got to stop. Not one person. And I think that's been our breakthrough with it. I'm willing to stand up and say, this is wrong, because I have the families coming to me. I get told sometimes, Steve, you're getting a bit personal. And I go, it's personal when I've got a mother on the phone.
I think the charity problem you have in charities in general is that sad news, unfortunately, means people invest into a charity. So the more sad news we have, if we solve the problem, I don't know.
But it's like, okay, we are, as construction support, we are a charity. We have got to serve the industry in a way that we support construction workers through mental health and wellbeing awareness. We're not there to give treatment and support people who potentially want to take their life. We've got companies we work with for that, and we signpost them, and that's kind of our charity goals of that, and that's our kind of what it's all about. But if I was finding out that X amount of people, I'm now responsible X amount of the industry. If I found out that the people come through us are now taking their lives down the road, but we should be serving them. I should be held accountable for that. And I think I'm more than happy to be held accountable for it if I haven't done enough. Now, whereas the millions and millions of pounds, there was an exhibition in London last week, 600 quid a ticket to go to a seminar about mental health in construction.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm just fucking, more than vocal about that. It's awful. You're making money out of this.
And all you're doing is telling people they're not doing anything about it, that seminar. They're just talking about the problems and throwing a few stats up.
Blowing hot air.
No one's, so when it comes down to people like trade organisations, because there's plenty of them in our industry, to do with plant, to do with construction, why aren't they opening the door to you then? Why aren't you there? Why aren't they making, I mean, if I'm sitting here as an organisation, like a trade organisation, I'd open the doors to you. How are you feeling there? Because they're getting a lot of funding. They're getting money from contractors that are paying in every bloody year, 4 or 5 grand.
Yeah, it upset their members, and there's too many of them now that they're all competing against each other, isn't there? Give me one industry that's got, or one sector of industry that's got one trade organisation. I think I was talking to someone the other day, the roofing sector's got 12 or something like that. They're fighting for memberships. So the last thing they want to do is piss off the members, ultimately. Now, that's not talking for everyone. We just recently spoke to the Scaffold Association one, actually. They've been good to us over the last couple of years, supportive. But you can see, let's do enough to look like we're doing something, but don't do too much that we're going to upset people. And that's, I think, where the business and the morals just kind of clash a little bit. It'd be good for all of them to come together and say that because all of them guys, and this, Robert Candy, a Scaffold Association, say he's been really supportive of us. But even still as well, we all know people who have took their own life because of the business side of it. So every one of these trade associations will know there's businesses within their association where someone's not here anymore because they couldn't deal with payment systems. And that's the bonkers thing. So why aren't they doing it? That's it. Why can't they be held accountable? Not be held accountable. Why aren't people being questioned? You're in a responsible role where you're holding up a lot of businesses, or you're in a position where you have a lot of responsibility. Why aren't things changing? Everything goes on about payment systems. Look, even literally the youngsters coming through. We've got an industry problem with low skills, but that was being echoed 20, 30 years ago. Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed.
But how much money's gone into it?
Yeah, and exactly, and the payment structure as well is like clients should be responsible, in my opinion, to pay the main contractor a commission to manage the job, but all the payments should go to the people that are actually doing the work direct.
Yeah.
And then people might get paid, rather than what happens is main contractor takes all the money and then divvies it out to those who want to do, because they want to fund another project that they're doing down the road and they're probably a bit behind.
Yeah.
It's just bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
How that works, and therefore,
But even with it, if you look at falls from height being the biggest killer physically, and then electrification, crushes, whatever, suicide dwarfs all of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're literally making all of them. It's 10, 12 times the amount, predicted to be 10, 12 times and more of that. But then if that's in place, what has been done? And I'm like, if you legislated it, just like 20, 30 years ago, if you said PPE is going to be to the level it is nowadays, or scaffold access and all that, harnesses and 35 points of PPE or whatever it is now, with that, you've got to factor that into a job. People have gone, we can never factor that into a job, it costs a fortune. Yeah. But now it's just part and parcel of the job.
So if you had a blank piece of paper then, if you was allowed to have a magic wand, what would you insist, or what would you put in place with each contractor?
Kick about every Wednesday, day off. It's like the military day. No, that'd be it. Just literally you've got to proactively show evidence how you support your company and what yous are doing. Now that can probably be done in a whole range of ways, but you've got to evidence it. And that isn't you put a poster up on World Mental Health Day to show that. And most of the time, what is quite now is everyone uses the same post from the year before. So I'm just like, come on, let's get a fresh picture.
Post for that week, let's get
that. So you've got to evidence it. Just evidence it. We're working a bit now with this hydration campaign. We're speaking about the anxiety problems in the industry. We know it's the heavy amounts of caffeine and this societal problem, Monster and all those big energy drinks and all that kind of stuff. That's a huge issue with the amount of staff that are just necking these things and suffering with anxiety. That's proven. That's science is showing that from around the world. And we've also noticed that dehydration through a few reports that we found, studies that we found through Google, depression is seriously linked with dehydration as well. Yeah. So then we come to launching this bit of a campaign to just get construction workers drinking water.
So what that leads me on to, how do people get involved then, and what do they get from that involvement?
So we're, as you'll know as well, we've been plugging this for the last 6 years now, and I've been thinking, how do we do this? We want to set up a membership basis where we can help and support as many as we can. And we realised we get out to the bigger numbers is through the power of podcasts and social media. So that's why we've pushed in that direction. But we've literally got a number of companies now. It's called the 100 Club. It's £100 a month, and it's for a company to sign up and just be part of what we're doing. We've got 4 key events that we're planning. The dates should be announced in the next couple of weeks now for next year. We've got a big rugby event, a big golf event, a big cycling event, what's going to be a big one actually, and a big football event, what should be confirmed in the next 2 weeks. 4 main events for all our sponsors and members to come along to. And it pretty much asking them to come on board. They will be the kind of invited first only, the kind of members rate, for them to come along and see what we're doing. And we want them to be able to use the evidence that we're providing for them to push forward with their jobs. We've got a lot of it now. We know we can't do too many events ourselves because we've got a lot of these companies ask us to come along to get involved with them. And we want to be out there. If companies that are part of our membership are doing a day on site, we just say, give us a call, we'll drop in and we'll get involved. We'll bring the cameras along and we'll promote it as much. We want to be kind of a media team really on the back of the charity side that supports the companies and what they're trying to do and trying to push them up. So it's tough because we want a low-key membership that's low cost for every company in the UK. We want every company in the UK to get behind it, if not the world one day, who knows. But we want to be there so we can just say, look, we're all struggling knowing what to do. So, but we've got a little bit of a good idea and we're pushing some stuff forward that we can quite happily say you're part of it as well with us, and without your help and support, we can't do it. We're
so
not
£100 a month.
Yeah.
That's all we're asking from people, really. £100 from every, from every business in our industry. It's nothing, is it?
No, it's not. And you go to, and we've seen it, the auctions that were going on last week at our events. Companies are throwing money at this stuff, to be there, to entertain and to do this. And that's why we're saying, look, for you guys, it's pocket change, £100 a month for a multi-million-pound entity, or if a company was just a few £100,000 a year, whatever. But it's just like, to us, we want numbers. We want everybody to realise that if we all push this, and we've noticed that now companies are going out, especially the membership side of it. There's only a small amount of us at the moment, but these companies are starting doing stuff in-house. They're themselves. They're going having a kickabout, or they're going for a walk at lunchtime. Like McAlpine's just done a big walk in Tolworth the other day, only for an hour and a half. Just walked around the park, got the whole site to go for it, and we went along. Video goes out in the next couple of days. But that is as simple as that. But they've said that it was only because we got the idea from what you're doing. I was like, it's not hard. I'm not saying we're going to run every single footy tournament in the football in the UK going on in the construction sector, but we just want to plant that seed in everyone's head to go, just take your team out for a kickabout or a walk, or put on a bit of entertainment in the business of some description. Give someone a bit of time to have a bit of a downtime is the main thing. And it's not sport, and we've noticed that. And we've got a rugby WhatsApp group now. It's got 120 players, all construction on it from every point of the UK and Ireland. We've got a trekking group of guys who just done walks with us in London. It's got 60, 70 on. We've got a football group that's got 70, 80 of us on, and then we've got a cycling one which there's lowest about 15 or 20 of us, and then there's a golf one as well that's growing. But what we've noticed with them is not the sport, it's the community that it's built, and we spoke about football and the community that it builds. And I think COVID showed us that the kind of mental health space isn't about what you're actually doing, it's about the community around it. And a lot of the people will come, look at the 100 guests that come to the match last week, they enjoy it more than the participants. We've had, to say, but going back to Nikki, the girl who was our support driver on the first ever walk, she will never forget that, and she loved it, and it meant so much to her. She just drove the van, and then that's why people say to us, and I've said it before, I said it last week on our podcast, the one thing that stops people doing stuff for men in construction is the fact that it doesn't tick enough boxes in the whole workspace. So we'll have a company, 99% men, and men are the main people killing themselves in this sector. The men people, the ones who aren't talking, the ones who are struggling. But companies won't do an event for them what's based on a football game because they've got a couple of women in the company as well. Now, no disrespect whatsoever. I always say I've got a daughter, a wife, a sister, a mother. I want my daughter to be coming to any industry she wants. If construction's the way, brilliant. But what I'm saying is the idea of this stuff is to support the bigger picture of the men who are killing themselves. We've got women's events going on all over the space, and I get that and I understand it and I'm all for it. But we're being denied events our end because we don't cover enough events for women as well.
Well, this is the irony. We spoke about this the other day. We have a Women in Construction Day, which is, we're all for that, yeah?
Yeah.
But we don't have a Men in Construction Day, or mental health in men. And that's the ridiculous nature of it. But I think that's just owners of businesses and directors of businesses that, do you know what, they're just becoming too rigid in their thought process, rather than go, do you know what, that's a good idea, I'll do something for the women as well, but I'll do something, or you know what, there'll probably be a few women that want to play football.
The companies that we've dealt with and had our best events has been headed up by the women, because they're better at planning and logistics and just in general getting people together. And we normally will pinpoint a lady in the office to be like, we need you to, we'll come in and organise an event for a company, but we don't know the personalities. I'll be like, I need you to round everyone up. And they're the ones, everyone serves a role. I'm not saying just to stereotype it. I'm like, but I know there's a woman in that office, she'll get everyone pulled together. And they are normally, there's a scaffold company, PDC Scaffold, we deal with. And the lady in the office there, she said, I feel like I'm a counsellor myself. So all these boys come in, I get all their feelings and all this. And it's amazing. And the environment's a better place for men and women. And that's why I say it's huge that we
So what have you got coming up next? What can people get involved in? I know you've done a few walks across London and things like that. Are you doing anything like that?
Festive Trek will go out. We've got to put a date on that. We were going to do a Halloween one this week, but like I say, my little boy's had his tonsils out, so we postponed that one. I'll be home.
So Festive Trek was that like walk across?
Yeah, be a walk in London. It's probably going to be, we've done a lot of marathons in London this year. We've done 3 marathon walks. Usually we start at 7 a.m, finish at 4-5, and it's literally from Liverpool Street to Richmond Park and back. Real good day. We've normally got 20 to 30 of us on it, all from different parts of the industry. And then that will be kind of it to close up this year. And then in February, we're going to have a construction rugby event where we're going to bring together, by the looks of it, we're going to bring together all of our rugby network that we've got to play against each other and have a bit of a trials day to find out who the good ones are, who wants to go on a little bit further and who wants the social side. We want that first and second team-esque kind of vibe, because we think we can take on the army or the navy or the big military boys at this and kind of really represent the industry. That'll come up, and there'll be a few social games as well throughout that. We're going to be doing a big bike ride. More will come on. We can't announce exactly what it is now. I'll tell you off camera, but it's a big one, which I'm excited about. And then there'll be a big football day. And there's a few things in the schedule will come out. They're all TBC, because they were going for 4 big events next year. So there'll be a golf day in June.
Just so the listeners know as well. So with this membership thing as well, the £100 a month. So is it that can you only get involved if the company that you're working for has signed up to that membership? No. So anyone we're
open to it all. Yeah. So we want the business to help support us. And then if you look at, we had 50 rugby players last week, from Dave the Bricky to bloody Tom, the bloody project manager for Balfours, and we had an ex-ISG lad there who lost his job because of all that commotion, so we made him captain so that he can have, and his gap in his CV, he can have Construction England captain in the middle. So nice. That's a nice little addition. But we welcome along anyone and everyone, not even construction related. Some people. Well, my sister's got a big kind of social network following through fitness for women. And I've led quite a lot of walks with all these girls, and it's been hugely beneficial for construction sport, because they've realised my husband does this, my husband does that. He never fucking talks, and then they start thinking, and it opens up to them. So more engagement we've done outside of construction has helped us massively, and the podcasts are huge. And thank you to you guys for having us, because we are only here probably because the success of a podcast I'd done in COVID. A mate of mine done a podcast. I went on it. It got picked up by the BBC. That got launched into the documentary. The documentary got picked up by Ant Millen. I went to his show, all because of one podcast. And then I was like, that's why the podcasts are so worth it. And there's like, you don't know who's listening, when they're listening, and when they're going to get in touch with you. And I say that was probably 7-8 months after the one when it opened up. This guy, BBC journalist, literally went on to Spotify and just typed in construction mental health, and it come up, this podcast. I'd just mentioned it through the algorithms.
So Steve, have you got any advice for anyone that's like suffering with mental health? They're on the construction site, maybe the lads on the construction site in general are suffering, and you know, maybe they've got a boss that's driving them mad or whatever. I mean, have you got any advice for someone? Smack him.
The main thing is you're not on your own with it. And I think, again, COVID, talking about it, was someone said to me the other day, we're all in the same storm, just in different boats. And that was kind of what we've realised now. And we've heard horror stories of people have literally taken their own lives off petty little things. To us would be like 50 quid or something like that, where you think, Jesus Christ, we could have helped you. But no matter how bad your problem is, you're not on your own with it. And that's the main thing we've seen. And when you get communities and networks and people getting together, and like-minded people especially, you realise, Jesus Christ, I'm not on my own then. And you know your problem is still there, but because you know his problem's there, and you feel like yours is halved in a way. You're like, geez, I'm not on my own here. Finding support networks is massive. And I think when you look at the figures of the age range between suicides in men. I think between 35 and 50, around that. I think between those two, definitely might be a bit more tight than that. 35 and 50 is the dangerous times, and that is, I've just hit 35. And personally, for me, when I was 17, I still had all my mates from school around. When I was 18, when I was playing rugby with them every weekend as well, having a laugh. Got to 21, you've got all them people around you still, and you're having a laugh. And then your love life gets a little bit carried away. Then you find someone, and then you're being a little bit pulled to, you're doing a bit more with them, and then your mates you don't see quite as many times. And then come the late 20s and you're having kids, and then you end up knocking that. I'm talking pretty much my background. You knock the sport on the head completely, and you don't not playing it. And then suddenly that massive network of community and offloading all your shit and addressing your mental health at 17 is non-existent at 30 into your early 30s. And then you end up fading into this way where you just go to work, you go home, go to work, go home. And I spoke to a therapist 6-7 years ago about it for myself, and he said you need to have, they put it as 70-30. So 70% of your work time, when you're at work, keep yourself hydrated, keep stretching your legs, do little things to help your body. But then, 30% do that. So stretching your legs, hydrating yourself, doing all this stuff to help you whilst you're at work. But then 70% of your time, do your job, be professional, do what you're there for, do what you're paid for, and do that. But that same 70-30, when you go home with your kids at the weekend and your family, do the 70%, look after the kids, look after your missus, provide, do everything you need to do to keep a happy household, but be selfish enough to have your 30% and go and have a kickabout or go for a walk, go to the gym, do something where you can shut off from it all.
I've not heard that before. That's really good.
Yeah, this is a bit of side, and it makes so much sense.
I get, I play poker now with my friends that you used to play football with.
Yeah.
And obviously you used to play football every week. You were there, and that camaraderie and that feeling. And how you feel now,
smell of deep
having
heat in change rooms.
that one game of poker, like even it's not once every 2 months or whatever. How you come out feeling when you've had that kind of camaraderie with people, you definitely need that in your life.
Yeah.
And it's easy to switch that away. And as you say, community, I think is a powerful word you've said there today. You need to get that going within your own. And I think you've got your own responsibility to.
Yeah, 100%.
To make that happen as well.
The hydration thing, again, was for me, selfishly, going, I can't stand people coming to us for help, and we're giving them help. We're paying for a lot of money for them to have support, like from the private health sector side of it. We're saying we're willing to invest this in you to help yourself. And then they ignore us and don't get back to us. And I think and I get to this point, and tough love in a way. I'm like, someone comes to us with all these problems, like, how much water do you drink a day? I don't drink water a day. I've had 10 beers at the pub last night though, and all this. I'm like, just go away and fucking hydrate yourself, drink enough water, get yourself functioning properly, and then come back and talk to us. And I've always got to the point, what can we do to kind of push that message a little bit subtly? And it was like the hydration campaign was kind of if we can get people just clearing their heads with hydrating, we need water. It's the basics. And half the people we spoke to don't know how much water you need, and it's just bonkers. And they think having coffee all day long will get them through their hydration and things like that, when it's just the reversal of from an anxiety point of view. But to us, it's like, what can we do to tell these guys? We can't help anyone unless you help yourself. That is where it starts. And once you can help yourself, it all opens up for you, and then you're away. And podcasts, YouTube, anything, research.
We normally have a few things, a bit of a laugh. I've only really got one thing that's been sent in this week. We normally have, like, if your company was a film, what would it be? We've had some quite funny ones, and I've just got to read this properly. Bloke's written and thought Star Wars, and I thought, and he said, not showcasing innovation on futuristic technologies used in plant hire sector, because the owner's son's called Luke, and they both wore fake tan. I was thinking, what's that? And he said, this was the only son they ever had. So that was quite funny. But so wrapping up then, Steve, how do we get in touch? How do we? Give us your socials, and how do we get in touch with you? And how do we?
Pretty much at Construction Sport on every social media now. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn heavily, myself and the charity, and also YouTube. We're on there, got a YouTube channel under Construction Sport, and we'll be on Spotify as of Wednesday next week as well with our podcast. Where we start pushing a little bit. I'll have you guys down there, return the favour, get his on.
Yeah, well, look, this is it.
come down to sunny Essex.
Get us down there, and you know, we're also on Spotify for everyone listening. We also need them subscribers.
Yeah,
you know, sure. Apple and socials.
But I think that's the way to sound on that though as well with the social media side. It's going back to the competitiveness and territorial world of charity, but the social media world, I think everyone is really supportive on it in terms of, because not a lot of people do it, and it's mad, especially in construction, how little people do it. But I think people realising I've got an audience, you've got an audience, and everyone's quite open to just crossing over to literally do it. And I think we all spend so much time in the vans and our cars and that we want to listen to something else and just change it up and mix it around, and it's good to have a few choices there. But no, thank you massively for
no, brilliant. You know, we really want to get involved ourselves, so yeah, we'd love to come on your one, have a crack and see what's going on. But we'll be supportive. And remember, £100 a month, it's ridiculous, isn't it? You know, there shouldn't be anyone listening to this as a contractor or a business of a reasonable size that couldn't.
And we're back now by, again, the Considerate Constructor Scheme have got behind us and behind our hydration campaign, because they're realising what we were getting phone calls on was, can you come in, we've got a Considerate Constructor Scheme audit next week and with no one's addressed mental health, can you come in and just do a talk? So I'd go in, do a talk, and they'd tick all their boxes and then probably get big bonuses off the back of it. And I was, hang on a second. So I went to the Considerate Constructor Scheme and said that I'm getting asked to go and do talks so people can tick the box of your audits. Yeah. But I don't feel like going and talking for 5 minutes is enough. If we want to do this hydration campaign and show people that there's more to it than just a 5-minute chat, let's get people drinking water. And they just said, we want to get behind you. So, so if you're part of that scheme and all, we can help with your audit trail that and get people drinking some water. All the bottles have got Considerate Construction logos on it and the QR codes to it all. And
well, hopefully these people, if they are ticking a box, and hopefully they'll get involved a bit more. I suppose it starts with that. You know, I suppose there's nothing wrong with that. I need a box ticked, I'll get you in. But as long as they continue to support.
And it is as well, what we found is companies want to do more, and at the same time, we just aren't kitted out to be able to do more as well. The way we are funded, or that we kind of say we've got the groundwork side and what we do. And a lot of it is structurally from behind the scenes of us as well. I fully get that, and that's why we're taking on a new member of staff in the new year to actually build the whole structural side. So at the moment it's fragmented. We react. When you said that about the films, I was actually thinking more Pearl Harbor, just fucking not knowing what's going on and being attacked from somewhere and going with being attacked by. To be honest, the boys in the office just say, "Don't know what's coming tomorrow." But that was in our way, it's just bear with us. We'll be the biggest charity in the industry without a shadow of doubt. I'll take me to grave that one.
All right, well, thanks, mate.
Cheers, boys.
Thanks very much, mate.
Thank you.